This is the Rochford Files with your host, Andrew Rochford here. And today, I know that I haven't been around much providing content as of late. I'm trying, it gets hard with the issues I have with motion sickness and vertigo to try to put the effort in on this channel before when I'm after I work my full-time job. But on days like these, I feel inspired to talk about stuff, especially moments like these with worker rights. A big victory today as the Amazon workers in Staten Island voted in favor of unionizing. But first, before we get into the whole unionization spiel, the details of it, we gotta go back to yesterday when AOC she did her usual grandstanding routine when it came to update on the votes for this unionization, and this also involved Crystal Ball, one half of Breaking Points, another half of Crystal Kyle and Friends, and her and AOC went back and forth a bit on Twitter, and I think this is a important detail to include into this video before we get into the actual breakdown of the official announcement. And we go here. So this is AOC doing the flex routine when she saw the vote update of 1518 yes and 1154 no. Then Crystal Ball, her first tweet, she tried to use this as an opportunity to boost the organizer Chris Smalls, the one who decided after getting fired by Amazon for trying to organize his workers into a union. From that point forward, he had to organize Amazon workers from the outside. And she linked to a clip from her Crystal Kyle and Friends episode with Smalls. And here's AOC's first response. The warehouse isn't in my district. Maybe you should look at a map before claiming so. One schedule conflict aside, we have requested oversight investigations into Amazon, met with Amazon workers in the Woodside warehouses, and more. Hope you do more due diligence next time. How many more times are we going to continue to let federal level politicians sell you on the bullshit of not having to worry about stuff that doesn't happen outside their district, when the reality is every action they do positively or negatively affects people everywhere in the country when you work at the federal level. And the fact that it gets so many people to accept that argument is just a huge example of how propagandized the United States is. Because y'all remember when AOC decided to go to the Met Gala? It was Amazon workers that she abandoned that night because she felt like she was advancing the cause more in some white dress with tax the rich on it. But yet, where was that argument when you decided to go to Florida for holiday break? Did that argue? Why did you ever have your crying photo at the cages if you're going to use that isn't my district argument, since politicians love using that argument when it serves their best interest? And let's not forget, Ayanna Presley, another squad member, she used that argument as a justification to not vote as a block. Then Dan Price, I love and admire Crystal greatly, but I have scheduling conflicts constantly. Life happens. Things come up. I don't think it's realistic to ask one person to be at every event and solve every problem. And this is one of the only billionaire or really close to billionaire types who actually cares about making sure his workers have not only living wage but above that as well. And then Crystal again, not one member of the squad showed up. They all ghosted Chris, and this wasn't just another event. It was the most substantial worker-led organizing effort at one of the most powerful companies in the world. They all had excuses for the many months of this organizing drive. Then defensive AOC again. What exactly is the insinuation here? That we are secretly in the tank for Amazon? That we're sellouts despite leading congressional investigations into Amazon? Taking huge blowback to call out the scam HQ2 deal? Meeting with workers in our district warehouses? It's reaching. But as you'll see in these replies, Christian Smalls clapped back at AOC, which I'll put up on screen in the moment. And there it is. SMH at AOC. That's terrible. Workers from your district definitely commute to Staten Island. I know them personally. Maybe you should do your due diligence. And that right there is the first step and a big victory for a really based organizer, Chris Smalls, who's been working to achieve this type of moment for over 2 years. And there was no squad member interested in making work in interacting with him. He didn't have the help of politicians like them. But what he did have was a lot of people in this independent left media space helped boost his efforts. They came close in Bessemer, Alabama, and those moments lead to groundbreaking victories like today. So let's go over some of these important details in this article. All right, so the final tally was 2654 votes in favor of joining the union and 2131 opposed. Approximately 8,325 workers are eligible to vote whether to become part of the Amazon labor union. There are 67 challenge ballots, a gap too small to change the outcome of the election. The results still need to be formally certified by the National Labor Relations Board. And there was a lot of counter union, anti union tactics being done to prevent it from happening. The Staten Island facility, known as GFK8, is Amazon's largest in New York and now has the distinction of being the first in the U.S. to unionize despite workers having to stare down a hefty anti union campaign. Amazon papered the walls at GFK8 with banners that proclaimed "Vote No," set up a website, and held weekly mandatory meetings. They even hired an influential consulting and polling firm with close ties to Democratic political groups and touted its own benefits offered by unions. By voting in the Amazon labor union, Staten Island workers could challenge the company's current labor model, which is the backbone of its prime two-day shipping promise. Unions stand to disrupt the level of control Amazon exerts over its warehouse and delivery employees, like its ability to unilaterally set the pace of work and hourly wages. Labor experts previously told CNBC, "We're disappointed with the outcome of the election in Staten Island because we believe in having a direct relationship with the company is best for our employees." An Amazon spokesperson said, "We're evaluating our options, including filing objections based on the inappropriate and undue influence by the NLRB, and that we and others, including the National Retail Federation and U.S. Chamber of Commerce, witnessed in this election." There's those Amazon tears for you. The ALU has called for Amazon to put in place more reasonable productivity rates in the workplace. It's also urging the company to raise wages as well as give workers more paid breaks and vacation, among other demands. The ALU was an unlikely contender to win. The first unionized Amazon warehouse started in 2021. It's a grassroots worker-led organization that largely depended on crowdsourced donations from a GoFundMe account to fund organizing activities. The union is led by Christian Smalls, a former GFK manager who was fired by Amazon in 2020 after the company claimed he violated social distancing rules. Smalls argued he was fired in retaliation for staging protests in the early weeks of the coronavirus pandemic to call for stronger safety measures. And I hope that this is the start of what is a lot more Amazons around the country and several other workplaces become unionized. And what I know about Chris Smalls, he's not done there. That's only a beginning of his labor organizing and activism. And at the same time, now that the Bezos bubble is starting to burst a bit by workers rising up and wanting to take control of their rights, the next step is a place where I consider it even harder to unionize, and that's Walmart. And I would know that from experience because I used to work several years at Sam's Club, and the first day I worked there and hearing the anti-union propaganda that you have to listen to in orientation and rolling the eyes inside of my head when I hear it, because I know the positivity of unions. My dad was a union worker working at multiple unions before he had to retire early due to disability. So I understand the positive impact a union has on workers and how it is better to fight for worker rights in a formalized union as instead of a bunch of individuals. And as I've said, this could be a really big momentum mover where it's like when in basketball where you could start like shooting like 2 for 9, but you get to the free throw line, make a couple free throws in a row. Maybe you get a layup, then you start to hit the next few shots in a row. And this overall, with the Staten Island workers being the first to unionize, that could be the momentum building moment that the workers movement desperately needs.